Hi there, boys and girls. I'm sure you already heard that we aren't going to be having in person church for a little while once again, but it was sure nice to see those of you who were able to come. Pastor Bill got the coronavirus, but don't panic, he's fine. And my daughter McKenna got it too, but she was also fine as well. And everyone is healthy and safe. And neither one of them were really all that sick besides a fever for just a day or two, but they wanted to do their best not to spread it to anyone else. And the worst part of it all was not being able to see their friends and family for several days. But we are so thankful that they weren't actually like really sick, because some people can get really sick from the coronavirus, but they actually, their symptoms were pretty minimal. So, anyway, I hope you're all staying safe and healthy too. Today, we're going to talk about Jesus walking on water. We're going to play a little game before we get started with the lesson. I'm going to show you a pre recorded video of Pastor Bill and I playing a game of sink or float, and you can play along at home too. All right, so I have Pastor Bill with me, and we're going to play a guessing game. And you can go ahead and guess at home, and Pastor Bill is going to guess here. So I have different objects that I'm going to show you and Pastor Bill, and you will need to guess whether or not you think it will sink or float, and then we're going to test it. So here is the water. Okay, and I have, let's start with this. So I have a pencil. So what do you think? Do you think it's going to sink or float?
A pencil? I think a pencil is going to float.
All right. What do you guys think? So go ahead and say your answer. And now I'm going to put it in the water and we're going to see what happens. Okay. So it might be hard for you to tell at home, but it is floating.
Let me push it down. So look, push it down. Whoop, right back to the surface. Look at that. It's floating.
Okay. I have this ceramic tile. It's a cork on the back. Actually, it's a coaster.
Coaster, yeah.
So what do you think?
I think it's going to float.
He thinks it's going to float. So what do you think at home? All right, so let's go ahead and test it.
Huh. That looks like it's all the way down to the bottom. It looks like I was wrong. That thing sunk.
Yep.
That thing's all the way down
sunk.
there. All the way in the bottom.
Okay. Next, I have a rock. Now, this one, we weren't really sure because this is a lava rock. So if you look closely, it kind of looks like it has holes through it. So we're kind of curious as to what will happen. So what do you think?
I'm going to guess it's going to float.
All right, he thinks it's going to float. What do you guys think? All right, we're going to go ahead and test it. Here we go. You know what's interesting, though? There are bubbles coming out of this coaster.
Yeah, it's bubbling up.
All right. So here we go. So I'm going to go with sinking.
Yeah, it's on the bottom.
Yeah, it's definitely.
It's kind of trying to float. It's kind of in between. It moves around not the same. No, it's sinking.
Okay, we're going to go with sinking.
It's sunk.
All right, you might have one of these at home. You have a little Lego guy.
Lego guy.
What do you think will happen with this one, boys and girls?
I think the Lego guy's going to float.
Okay.
I think they're all going to float. I've been wrong twice.
All right, let's see what's going to happen.
Oh, yes! He's floating.
Yep, definitely floating.
They have him dive to the bottom and watch him float back to the surface. Whoop! Up he goes.
Okay. And then we have, who is this?
Like Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
All right. What do
Let's
you
see
think?
I think he'll use the Force and he'll float.
All right, what do you guys think at home? All right, here we go. Let's test it out.
Come on, Obi-Wan.
Okay, so he
is sunk. No force for you, Obi-Wan.
All right, and then one more. We have this alligator. Actually, it's
Alligators.
like
Squish toy.
a squishy toy. So, what do you guys think?
I think alligators swim all the time, so he is not gonna sink.
Okay, so you think he's gonna float?
He's gonna float.
All right, what do you guys think at home? All right, let's test it out.
Oh yeah, man, that guy is right on top. He's floating the best.
You see that?
Go under the water, alligator. Right to the top.
All right, so we can see that the alligator floated, the pencil, and the little plastic Lego guy. And a little science fact here, things float when they're filled with air, if you didn't know that.
Hmm.
So I know it's hard to understand that this pencil is actually filled with air, and that would be a whole lesson on density, but actually there's air in here which would allow it to then float. We know there's air in this, but these objects aren't very dense, which means how the particles are packed together. So that's why I like the Titanic. You guys might have heard about the Titanic. The Titanic technically was filled with air, and when did it actually sink?
When the air got poked out of it.
When it was filled with water and not air. All right, so we're going to go ahead and see how this relates to our lesson today. To walk on water. Well, think of it this way. Have you ever stepped off the edge of a swimming pool? What happened? You probably stepped right through the water and didn't float, right? Here's a quick video that I found of a man trying to walk on water. So let's watch the video.
We're in Portugal with some extreme sportsmen who are about to repeat a feat from about 2,000 years ago. Yes, this man is about to walk or run on water.
You think they're just gonna sink, but they keep going, and it looks like they're walking on the surface of water.
With almost 13.5 million hits so far, this uploader inspired many copycats. But are they heroes or hoaxers? We asked Philip and Hugo, the video's makers.
We came up with this film called Liquid Mountaineering, and it's a hoax. It's fake. We created it.
Yeah, it was a viral video for a sportswear company. But could someone actually run on water?
These guys claim that they can do it because their running speed is so fast that it's just like skipping a stone across water. And it's definitely true that if a human foot or a human hand was to slap water really hard, you actually feel a reactionary force.
The problem is, the water pushing upwards has to counteract the weight of the human pushing down. The only way you can do that is by having enormous feet or running really, really fast. These guys aren't succeeding at either of those.
Consider that Usain Bolt, the fastest man who's ever lived, only runs at something like 10.4 meters per second. These guys will need to run 3 times faster than the fastest man on Earth in order to pull this off.
So if it is impossible, how did they pull it off?
Well, the trick of running on water, the way we filmed it, it was not done by computer, but it was done for real with a platform just below the surface of the water, and it was a floating platform. So if the runners put a step on that platform, it would wobble a bit, would move, and that gave us the illusion of actually stepping on like moving water as opposed to stepping on a platform. And at the end of the platform, as you can see in the video, it just stops, they fall in the water.
Well, that man couldn't walk on water, but we're going to watch a video today about someone who could. So let's check out another video about someone who really could walk on water.
Stories of the Bible. Peter walks on water. This is Peter.
Hey-oh! Whoop.
Peter was a fisherman who was called by Jesus.
Hey.
Peter saw the many miracles of Jesus. Whoa! And he heard all his teachings. Great crowds followed Jesus wherever he went. One day, after Jesus had done a great miracle, he sent the disciples in a boat across the lake while he stayed and sent the people home.
See ya. Hey, Jesus.
After sending them home, Jesus went up into the hills by himself to pray. Meanwhile, the disciples were in trouble far away from land, for a strong wind had risen, and they were fighting heavy waves. About 3 o'clock in the morning, Jesus came toward them, walking on water. When the disciples saw him walking on the water, they were terrified. In their fear, they cried out, "It's a ghost!"
Hold on there.
But Jesus spoke to them at once. "Don't be afraid," he said. "Take courage. I am here." Then Peter called to him, "Lord, if it's really you, tell me to come to you walking on the water." So Jesus said, "Yes, come." So Peter went over the side of the boat.
Whoa, you're awesome.
And walked on the water toward Jesus. But when he saw the strong wind and the waves, he was terrified and began to sing.
Jesus, help me.
"Save me, Lord," he shouted. Jesus immediately reached out and grabbed him. Jesus said, "You have so little faith. Why did you doubt me?" When they climbed back into the boat, the wind stopped. Then the disciples worshipped him and said, "You really are the Son of God." Stories of the Bible.
Jesus said Peter had only a little faith. If Peter had a lot of faith in Jesus, he wouldn't have been afraid. Do you have enough faith in Jesus to not be afraid when something happens to you? I know it can be really hard to not feel afraid, but when you do, ask Jesus to help you. So let's do that now. So get really still and fold your hands and repeat after me. Dear God, please help us to lean on you when we are afraid. Help us calm our fears. Please keep us safe. Amen. Well, I hope you guys have a great week and meet me back here again next Sunday.